So we were watching a show as a family. You may have heard of this, you may have not have heard of this, but I proudly stand behind this show. Grew up with it, love it, special place in my heart, and we're introducing our kids to it. And in this show, which I'll name in a second here, there's a girl, she's, I don't know, 13, 14, and they're doing a fundraiser at their school for a brand new library. And there's this wealthy guy who comes in town, and she doesn't know him at all, but she's heard this guy's wealthy, and she's 13, but she's like a go-getter, and she walks into this restaurant. This was like a show set, back in the day, before, very primitive, running water and all that kind of stuff. So she walks into this restaurant and sees him at his table, and she's with her cousins there, and she's like, I'm just going to go up to him and ask him for a donation to the library. And they're like, you can't just do that. But she does, and she, kind of works her way across the dining room of this really nice restaurant and just stands up in front of the dude, and he kind of starts to cut her off, but the woman that this guy was with, she's like, oh, let the child speak, So she gives her little speech, her spiel or whatever. Mid-spiel, something like falls at the table, the waiter comes over, she gets kicked out, and but then, as the story goes, the episode progresses on, she ends up, she does this show, and this guy ends up coming to this show, and he's so touched by the show because it reminds him of something with his mother who had passed away, that he seeks out this 13-year-old girl at school the next day. Teacher calls her in and is like, hey, I'm not only going to give you some of the money, I'm going to give you all the money that's needed to make this new library. Why in the world am I sharing this story with you? So if you're not tracking my journey, we are doing a Christmas show this December. So backstory, we just wrapped up 3 movies in 3 years. So writing, producing them, casting them, editing them, fundraising for them, the whole 9 yards. And we thought 2024 might be a little bit of a year of a reprieve, but in March of this past year, it became clear that we're pressing go again on a 4th show. This one's not a film, it's a live on-stage show. And the raise for this is $250,000. And, that can seem very, very daunting. And it's just so funny. We're sitting down just a couple of days ago as a family, and my wife and I are watching this. We haven't watched a show in like years, like since we were kids. And the episode we happened to watch with our children is this girl having faith and not having the wherewithal to think, what if he says no to me? What if he, yells at me? What if he says never talk to me again in my life? And she just had this like childlike faith. And so I don't want to make too big of a deal about it, but it was just interesting. My wife and I were talking about it afterwards, and she was like, were you thinking what I was thinking? And I was like, yeah. As we're moving forward in production here, there's so many things that come against the mind, that come against the heart when you are not only fundraising, but producing a show at this magnitude, where it's like, well, what if not only money stuff, but what if this doesn't happen? What if this doesn't happen? What if this doesn't happen? All the things that have to come together to make a show like this, a show of this magnitude happen. But we're just choosing to say childlike faith is going to be what we're moving forward with. And as Jesus said, unless you have faith like a child, come to me like a child. So that's where we're at. That's where we're at. And we want to have faith like a child. I want to encourage you. Maybe the Lord's asked you to do something, or he's asking you to do something. You've been hesitant to press go on it, or you press go on it and you're like, what in the world did I do? Matthew chapter 5, verse 3, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. If there's anyone who would be poor in spirit, which basically that verse means they know they can't do it on their own and they're utterly dependent on God. If there's anyone who knows they can't do life or food or fun or anything on their own, it is a child. So faith like a child is what I'm seeking to have day in and day out. Some days are super great. Some days are really, really bad. But I want to encourage you on your journey. What is the Lord asking you to do? And are you having faith like a child? Or are you like my struggle? Sometimes I have too much common sense for my own good. I'm like, no, I should do this. I should do this. I should do this. And there is wisdom. We want to seek the Lord for wisdom. But I'm asking the Lord today to have faith like a child. And I don't want to forget, the show that we were watching is called Avonlea or Road to Avonlea. I grew up in Buffalo, New York, so right on the Canadian border. So we got the Canadian Broadcasting Channel, or CBC, whatever it was. That's their one of their stations in Canada, and we would watch it because we didn't have cable growing up. And so we would kind of get the bunny ears and, get Avonlea or Road to Avonlea in. And so it's a great show. You should check it out with your family and have faith like a child.